This is your weekend market recap for Saturday, August 13th, 2022. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max, CDXP Realty, aka The Trading Agent, and this is your weekend market recap for Saturday, August 13th, 2022. Hopefully you had a good week. A lot to talk about and unwrap. Please settle in, grab a coffee, relax. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. Check out the Discord room. Link is in the description below. There is a ton of material for education in the side rooms, back to basics. Again, this channel is not for the beginner trader. It's more for the intermediate advanced to kind of pick and grow their edge based on what their weaknesses are. And if you are newer, there's a lot to read. And so I have recommended readings, what to start with, and just a lot of stuff. And on that note, if you have any questions, again, always stop by the Discord room and drop a comment in the description below, and let's get into it. All right, long week, right? Really hard, choppy, sloppy market. The bulls are taking over. So they think, as they think, I mean, whatever you want to call it. The sentiment is now back where? Bullish sentiment at inflection points. Now, let's call it what it is. Blow out the bears. I mean, I got stopped out. My position entry is not ideal. Well, there's one of three things that are going to happen. Friday was the top, and you have a chop top. We're going slightly higher, and you're going to have a fail later. Or you open down Monday and work your way lower as the week goes on. A lot of people are really trying to get super lasered into it, the exact right place to get in. And as I say all the time, certainty is a comfort you think you control. The market is not like that. That's why we layer in, we layer out, we control our entries, and we hope we pick the exact tops and bottoms based on reoccurring candle formations, reoccurring patterns, reoccurring algorithmic traps, all that little stuff. But what do we know though? We don't know anything for sure. That's why I always try to explain to people. If you think you're going to nail every spot for every swing trade, every day trade, you are just smoking something that I don't know what it really is telling you, getting your brain to do, but it's a certainty thing. You know, it's the same thing as people don't realize that some of the best institutions, traders in the world, like their goal is to only win 80% of the time. Well, what is the problem with 1 in 5, 1 in 10 losses for the average person? They can't manage their trades. That's the problem. If that's your problem, this is where this board, this room is ideal. Because again, I've made every mistake, probably done it at least a dozen times. Not proud of it, but it made me better. And as a person who comes from a wannabe, right, alpha mentality, it can be hard, and it's very, my personality's changed because it's been humbling. So I hope this relates to you potentially. If not, hopefully you don't have to learn the lessons. That's why I tell people, like, your tuition bill in trading is as high and expensive as you want it to be. If you want to learn how to trade with your own money and trade it hard and aggressively, your lessons are going to be expensive. If you want to trade small, practice trade with paper accounts and really develop that edge, your education is free. It's your choice. Most people just can't take it serious unless they have money on the line. And that's the problem, ultimately, is that you end up losing and then you're in the hole. Being in the hole in anything, it's no different than going on tilt, right? Like, think of poker. Like, you don't want to go on tilt and then go play poker. Like, that's extremely dangerous. So if that's what you're trying to do with trading, just be careful. Bitcoin, it looks like we have a little bit of a, people call this flag channeling, whatever you want to call it. At this point, my biggest concern ultimately is, yes, it's making higher highs. We've said that's good. I need to break out. Like, I need to get out of this little formation, because if it can't get to the trend line, it's going to fail. And if it gets to another trend line, it could fail. Like, this choppiness action without release of pressure scares the crap out of me for Bitcoin bulls. Because again, at this point, I don't know if it's going higher. I don't trust it. Oil, we said there's major inflection points here in the 93, 94 range. You're like, oh, picking tops and bottoms. It's at 94.07 every time. No, it's a box. It's the bottom of the box. It's approximate. I think oil does go down ultimately, but I think geopolitically it has potential to go up and down. People want to ask me, short oil, buy natural gas. All of those trades, I mean, you can literally create your own narrative in your head. I've got about the equal amount of bulls and bears. And at this point, what I would say is just know your risk. I like shorting tech because it's easy. Anything that can go wrong is beneficial to the tech trade going lower. Anything that could go wrong doesn't necessarily mean oil and gas are going lower. Keep that in mind. All right, the market. Let's just talk about a few things just in general, what I want to do for the next 20 minutes. We really want to identify the areas for which we will start taking and putting on trades. At this point, I'm out of not everything, but a lot of things that I had the most leverage and needed to be right nearer term, gone. But that doesn't mean I give up on the trade. People are like, "Oh, you can't go back to shorting. That's wrong." It's like, no, I go back to like a neutral level of risk, and what? I sit back, I do the weekend recap, I take a day off, whatever it is, I recalibrate. That's all it is. And again, I get past the losses. I lost money. You lose money. I followed my plan. That's all I can really be happy or sad about, right? Like, and that's why I tell people, are you trading well? If you're trading well, the profits take care of themselves. If you're not trading well, what happens? The losses outweigh the gains. A lot of people in their minds think that they can't lose, and that's the problem. If you have like this weird ego battle that you can't lose, then you shouldn't be trading. It's the same thing as you shouldn't be gambling. You shouldn't go into a casino and expect to win. The odds aren't in your favor. Well, again, we play the game to put the odds in our favor, but guess what? The house still wins sometimes. That's just the nature of the beast. TLT. What do we say about the Fed pivot? I don't really see a Fed pivot. However, I do see a retest of the 112s potentially. Why? Well, look at the action, right? Doesn't it seem very logical that potentially if the Feds are going to raise 75 basis points coming up in September, maybe even 50, the market might start to price in what? Higher rates, lower TLT. Now, long term, I still think the rates will go significantly lower short term, then higher long term, which rather confusing means if you're not sure, don't trade the bond market. However, watch it. That's all I would say. I think rates will go higher near term, should help the market drop. And then if the market hits the fan and shit starts looking weird, well, guess what? People will run back into bonds. They always do. The dollar. Unreal. As I sip on coffee, I want you guys to look at this blue level. I get so many people going, isn't the dollar bearish? And I'm like, wow, let me sip on some coffee. I'm like, you must be listening to CNBC because I honestly see a monster bullish pattern. I see the monthly, right? I see dead people. No, I see the monthly. I see the rain. No, I mean, look at this. So this is a 20, almost 20, whatever, 15 years of a big up channel. You broke out of it. See, look at this channel right here. Let me just clear this up so you can see everything. No, you broke out of the shorter term channel. You hit the longer term channel highs, right? Like, how crazy is that? And people are just unreal that they're like, oh, it has to go lower now. And it's like, well, guess what? It hit it and it backed off. Right? Now what? High and tight is not bearish. I always tell that to people. It is not bearish, y'all. You have to stop this. You have to stop this mindset of everything has to go from extremes to extremes. Like, chop is part of the game. You make a new high, you come back and you held support resistance. You know, people on the showing me Dixie charts, and I'm like, again, I don't need to see the dollar. I don't need to see the DXY. I'm trading during market hours. I care what the dollar's doing when I'm awake and then what I'm trading it. And what is it doing, right? Because again, the gaps will play out as they are, but I want to see what's going on when I'm around. It looks like it's holding the 28s, right? Didn't we say that? Watch this low 28. It got 27.98 or whatever. Gap down doji. Supposedly the Feds are tight or loosening. Dollar's weakening. Well, guess what? Doji indecision. Next day, what did it do? Opened low, closed at the high. Then we gapped up today. If you think the dollar is now bearish, I don't know really who I'm talking to then. I must be talking to someone who just wants to see the dollar go down. I have no position in the dollar. But I see very clearly that this blue zone matters. Above it, I have to start being bullish, especially on a pullback, right? Because at this point, what do you see? I mean, You look at the monthly. I don't know. You don't know what's going to happen day to day, but I see just like this little flag and then it breaks out again. Up, down, higher high, higher high, higher lows. Do you see this like higher low, higher low? Oh God, it's breaking out. Okay, we'll see. I see the inflection points matter. The points of control matter. The VIX, this is one of the most underrated potential problems and misunderstandings within the market of people. Volatility means what? The magnitude of moods. Volatility, it means big up, big down. Well, the VIX probably should do what very soon? Bottom. A bigger move is coming, but if it's OPEX, keep in mind options expiration next week. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier. It's options expiration next week. Main OPEX for August. It's usually it's usually a termination of the VIX if they can get it. Now again, if you come in to OPEX with the VIX at the lows, now here's where you got to be a little careful, right? How much lower can it really go? Well, if you're going to wipe out all the option holders and try to compress it, well, that's for the people, again, like Livermore would say, everyone who was trading beforehand was paving the way for his future gains. Well, all these people got to get their ass kicked, right? Before what? It goes higher. I mean, like me, I got my ass kicked. I said double bottom, big red. Well, look what happened. We get in on the big red, and then it still went a little lower. Are we done? Are we wrong? Should we quit? Should we fail? Should we cry? No, I mean, you get double bottoms. I mean, keep in mind, this is a bull market, so the VIX was usually 15s, right? Look up, they could chop all over that. All over that. And look at the VIX here down in August, right? This is the OPEX spiky. Now we have continuing potential here, because this is the thing. This is why I keep telling people we're about as close as you can be to the top in the market as you're going to be. But what's the worst case scenario? Chop. How do you handle the chop? Well, if you're buying puts, please buy September's, October's. Do not buy 2 weeks out. Don't buy this week's. Like, that's just suicidal. Oh, but the premiums are so expensive. Well, pretend it's stock. It's better than buying only 100 shares. Maybe you can buy for, obviously, 20th of the cost. You can buy 3 options, 4, maybe 5. I don't know. However you want to play it around your core position. If your core position is you want to have 5 puts, but then you can leverage up to 10 or 15, then go right ahead. But this is the time you want to start looking for the buys. We talked about this. Now look at the SPY. Now everyone's getting real like, oh, Dan, it's going to this level, and it's going to that level, and it's going to this level. Well, let me tell you a story about how this market trapped the lows. We talked about the channel lows, and when it got here, like, what did we say? Why is it on? Ugh. We said, watch the action. Pop, boom. Gap down, then tight 2 days. Then the professional gap start the trend. Well, if we're in this point or this point kind of potential, right? Can we say it's either one of these? Now, the gap size, I don't know how it's going to be. We don't know that. We're either here or we're here and we need one more kind of thing. So think about it reverse. Think of all the scenarios. This is what we need to talk about. If it's a 2-day range, then Monday or Tuesday, maybe even to Tuesday, it just chops. Do we need to go above the channel, like we need to go below the channel to reverse? That is one scenario, so put that in your book. So if that's the case, probably gets the 435 area, right? It probably gets up into the 430s. Well, does it get right to the 200-day? That's a possibility. Well, what if it's going to short arm? And by short arm, I mean like you don't really have an example of it on this. But here, like the up channel in the SPY, like you had like an up channel that you could draw, and it just still could, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to get there every time, right? Oh, you thought you were going to ride the top of the channel. No. And again, these channels are way easier to draw after the fact, right? But you see how like there was times where you didn't get up to it. Confusion, right? Market, that's what they're good at. So 1 of 3 scenarios. You blow over it, 430s, mid 430s. You get right to the channel high at the 200-day and start to get tired and reject. Or today is the top-ish with a doji / lower, not low, a higher high than today, but not up into this area. So remember how I like to do what? I like to do boxes, right? You guys have seen this. People have been around. I love to do box trends because I've seen that. I've seen it get right on it, and I've seen it get below it. So here's your box trend, right? Something like that. Can you draw that and stick to it? I mean, that's the hardest part right here, right? Is just what's the exact level? Dan, tell me. What's the level? I don't know. It's either 435, 431, or it's going to be like 428, something like that. It's one of those three. And what are the probabilities on each? I guess it really depends on where we open Monday. Keep in mind, like the gamma rollover and the short squeeze and everybody getting excited, like as we showed on the Discord room, the sentiment is there. We are at the inflection point sentiment reading that you need to see. Bulls are winning. Like, no one's arguing that. Just like at the lows, the bears are winning. Like, that's not how... Again, at the inflection points, the primary trend winners are winning, duh. Like, I get people are like, oh, well, the bulls are losing. Well, no... Or the bears are losing. No shit. They've been losing since we were buying it down here. They've been losing since then. Well, we're looking at the inflection point. Just like when it got so crazy, we're like, you got to take your puts, man. You got to take them off. People are like, oh, I don't know. Keep in mind, this was OPEX as well. I don't know. And again, I made the mistake because I thought this day, and here's me confessional. I thought this was going to be the top. It didn't have the volume, but it had the price action, and that's why I stopped out eventually. You know, it just had to. Gap up against you. You only had so much room. You know, if you got in up here in the 417s like we did, I mean, once you started getting over the 420s, it was just game over. And again, some stocks didn't rise as well. Like, we'll get into them. Like, some haven't made new highs. Again, I see divergences in the market mechanisms, but it's just at this point, you just got to let it go. Now, again, does that mean you give up on the short trade and you just go long? That would be suicidal. That would be throwing salt in the wound. That would be drinking the Kool-Aid and not waking up. I hope that makes sense. The QQQs. Here's why, again, I stay bearish. This is way laggard. Way lagging. I know it has a similar formation. Man, this is just get this channel out of the way for now. It's not anywhere close to the 200-day. Do y'all see why I like the short tech? Short tech. Dan, what's your best trade? Short tech. Short tech. Short tech. Tech. Well, look at the volume here. Like, just wait for it to break out. Hopefully it's down. Break out the volume. Note to self again. It should be obvious. Now, how much higher can it go? I mean, either today's the high, and we chop, so 330s. We get up to like 335, or we short arming the 200-day, or we get up into the 340s. I just want people to realize, like, that's why layering in is all in, like, the best way to do this. Anyone who's like, all in, right here, pocket aces, go. Again, they're going to cry like Phil Hellmuth when they potentially get cracked. Like, let's layer in and make sure, you know, we see the flop, we see the turn, we see the river, all in. Does that make sense? Like, that kind of analogy? It's just like, do you want to go all in pre-flop and guarantee to lose, or not guarantee to lose all if you're wrong, or do you want to layer in and bet the, bet pre-flop, bet the turn, bet the flop, bet the turn, bet the river, like that kind of stuff, like layering in. IWM, this is where it gets a little confusing too, right? Look at the IWM over the 200-day. I mean, we got up to the 100-day last time and it failed. We got up to the 50-day. I guess it's time for the 200-day. It really looks that simple, right? And the only reason why I'm like sighing, and it's like, you wish you could say that now, right? Like, I wish I could say 3 weeks ago it's going to the 200-day, right? No one knows that. No one knows that for sure. Because again, that was always in the back of your mind, right? Right. Like, that's all you can really think about. And now that you're here, do you say, well, I wish I would have stayed longer? Well, again, hindsight's 2020, y'all. This is why it's so confusing, again, because this, to me, candle pointed down. Notice how, again, I talked about covering shorts. Well, look what this did. It took out the high. I can't stay short. Now, I can get back to short later, but I can't now. I hope people see this. Like, this is why we stopped out. And it wasn't like, it wasn't based on my emotions. Like, oh, it's going to turn over or it's going to rip to a new highs without, and you just have to let it go. No, it's more like you're just wrong. and it's time to step out. If you can't lose well, you shouldn't be trading, y'all. I'm just telling you that. If you don't like to lose, I try to pride myself on being the best loser I can. That sounds like a weird thing to say, but I guarantee you this. If you just start learning how to lose well, then you'll figure out how to win after that. People don't do that. They try to just learn how to win. I just want to win every dollar possible. I want to be the richest trader in the world. Well, guess what? Unless you learn how to lose, you will never be that person. And I can promise you that because I've tried to be the best trader in the world. And it's rather sad that I am where I'm at with all the knowledge I have because I wasn't the best loser in the world. Now, that's something I have to deal with every day. Does it bother me? No, because again, I know all my losses were lessons. It makes me better. But man, I would have been, if I would just literally, and this is the mindset you have to have, right? Like, be what? The best loser in the world. It's just, no one wants to hear that, right? Like, that doesn't sell. Nobody's coming on this video to go, this is the daily market recap. How to be the best loser in trading ever. No, nobody will watch that. It's like positive news. Like, no one will watch the good news. No, everyone wants to see the carnage and the train wrecks and the crimes that go on, right? Like, I hope this is something, again, because I only really say this because we haven't lost a lot. I mean, if you think about trading with us, and again, remember, I'm not an advisor. I'm just showing you what I think are good trades. It's your choice. You're responsible. You're a financial advisor, whatever you need to decide. But if you're following the trades, we don't lose a lot, right? And so these are the times that you reflect back. I mean, I can't even remember. I mean, dude, we've been winning our ass off because we've been a bull. So does that, now are people are going to turn it off, be like, be the best loser in the world? I don't want to be that. Well, okay, well, then you're also not going to be the best winner. Gold. The pivot points are hitting. Holding high and tight. Looks 50-50 to go higher. I've said this. I mean, people don't realize I said this in, May? Said, be careful. No, sorry, April. Be careful when it blew out for Ukraine and then made the lower high at the 2011 highs, came right back. Where did we say? Cup and handles go 0.382 max. Sometimes way extreme 0.5%. Well, we held the 0.382. We're bouncing. Again, the 20 month is curling down. I do not believe, just like Bitcoin, just like everything is everything, right? Why does it keep doing that? Everything is everything at this point. What does that mean? Well, everything can go down if the market's going down. I've said this in every video for months. Why? Again, when institutions have to unload, hedge funds, redemptions, mutual funds start unloading, selling begets selling. Margins, calls, pressure to alleviate pressure means everything is sold. Gold is the baby in the bathwater, and here comes the trash, and we're throwing it all away, and we left the baby in the trash, and it gets trashed. Like, baby goes out with the bathwater. I've said this every video, and I'm almost like getting, I feel like it's Groundhog Day. It's a double bottom, double bottom king, double top king. Do you think the volume here shows that the market makers were unable to lock unlimited value or limited shares to take and mark up gold later? No. Ain't nobody been shaking. I don't see the volume down there. Can you see the volume? Do you need to get out your telescope and see that? Magnifying glass, whatever magnification device you need? No. So you leave it alone. Silver. Awesome. Great. I'm having it popped. What do we say? We're into this blue box. Again, this is another double topper, chopper, sloppy. Just leave it alone. You're over the 50-day. Woohoo! Hell yeah, bro. No, I mean, watch it. It's in the 19s. I mean, we said that was our upside target. Now what? Your guess is as good as mine. Do you want to hold it? No. And I'll probably get a ton of flack if it goes higher before it goes lower, or if it makes a higher low or something. I just don't want to be early to this stuff. I've tried to show y'all on the monthly. It's just a no-brainer. Wait for the capitulation and the Feds to pivot. This was actually a Fed pivot. Remember? COVID. Right? Here was a Fed pivot, 2008. Since then, I mean, you've been in the house of pain. Now, can you trade it? Sure. But these folks who keep saying it's time to buy silver, I've been investing in silver every month for like 10 years. My cost basis has basically been the same. Now, do you want to tell me that it's going higher? Based on what? Nothing's changed. Fundamentally, nothing has changed. The game is still rigged. But the best time to always buy it is what? When the feds go into what? Pivot mode, QE, unload. Now, again, they might not be able to do it. Inflation takes over. But there will be what? A capitulation moment. There'll be a VIX. Remember the VIX spiking? You'll see the first VIX spike, right? First VIX spike, then commodities rip, right? Have we seen a VIX spike? No, not into the 40s. I mean, the highest we got was in the 30s. So just leave it alone. I know it's very tempting because I come from a gold and silver background. I promise you I do. I absolutely do. I don't know why I keep doing that. It's getting real annoying. But what now? Just leave it alone, man. And when I say man, generically, like leave it alone. Leave it alone, please. I mean, here, I'll show you again on the VIX. Have we seen a VIX? We've seen the VIX spike. No. In a bear market, you get a what? You get a spike over. You get a spike over. You get a spike over the 30s. You get into the 40s. We're not there yet, all right? Does this make sense? Can I get a comprende? I mean, I just want people to realize, like, in a world of trading where you think you know, the past is your friend. And if you're not using the past, then I don't know what you're doing. You're playing this game where you're really putting yourself in a position to do what? Take on trades with low probabilities. The goal is to not do that. Like Livermore would say, what is our goal? To do the easy things that pay us. And they pay us well. That's all I want from you. That's all I want to put into your guys' head. Just do what's easy. And guess what? In time, those wins will pile on top of each other. If you're trying to gamble and win big every time, or you're down huge and you're trying to win it all back in one trade, it all ends the same. Loserville. GDX, I've said this over and over. Please do not buy the large miners going into the next run. Because look at this. Look at here's the May high. May lows, right? Look at the GDXJ, the junior miners. They are back at the May lows. Again, check out the GDX. Nowhere close. Like, this is like Cam Newton throwing passes when he would throw him like 3 feet over the guy. Like, the guy can't catch the ball. Like, it's not even close. Sorry to make fun of Cam Newton, but as a former North Carolina person and watched a lot of Panthers games as a Eagles fan, would laugh at Cam Newton. Like, a guy would be run a 10-yard out and he would throw it 4 feet over his head. Well, not even close. That's what I'd always be like, whoa, not even close. Well, here we go. GDX, not even close. AG, as y'all know in the past, we murdered this trade, did really good. Talked about you have to get out up here at the double top and down. Leave them alone. AEM, again, put this on your radar. Please, 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 please. The volume at the low, if this comes back into the 30s, it's probably a buy if the gold market is poised to capitulate and turn. Newmont, this is the one, please don't buy. Please don't buy. I don't think this thing has any game. Neither's Barrick. None of these large cap miners. Look at that. Off of the high. 86 down to 45. Absolute beatdown. I just don't think, again, in the future cycle of this, the large names are going to be the buyers of the little guys. So the little guys are going to have, what? Greater multiples. Great trade at greater multiples. It's like, think about small tech moving fast versus big tech moving slow. And now they both might be moving fast, but one is moving hyper speed, one's moving the hare speed, right? It's like tortoise versus the hare. One is the tortoise and one's the hare, right? GDX is going to be the hare or the tortoise. Pass. Look at this gap. And again, if this is bullish, gap down, should be buyers. Don't see it. Commodities, love these things. Talked about them bouncing. And I got stopped out of some of them. Here we said the 200-day on letter X. Please be scared. Please be scared of commodities in a bear market. Please, please, please. I know at some point they will be an absolute buy. Not now. Nucor. You're into resistance. You're into it. You're like over it. Now what? Could it go higher? I don't know. But I'm taking profits. We talked about buying down here. Real hard. Real hard to sell it up here. I get it. But notice how we talk about if you're playing a swing trade, give yourself time. Because again, if you would have bought only the July options, you did not get the greatest of the juice until the end of July. Just keep that in mind. The trends are slow, right? The trends can be slow. And that's why I'm talking about, like, if you want to buy puts, the safest one are Octobers. The less safer is September's. The gamblers are August. The gambles and pay potentially lose. CCJ, every day I have this conversation. Uranium. Maybe the day that I don't get a conversation is the day that uranium bottoms. I still think this stuff long term. Yes, I agree with everyone, but I think it's going to be a teenager. It's coming back to the 16, 18 range. If you don't believe me, study the past. I don't need to show this thing every day. Go watch previous recaps. All your uranium names, please. Valet talked about coming back to the Scott bottom. It's, look at that hammer and then gap down. I mean, here you're getting signs of weakness in the market. Like, this shouldn't be doing this. It shouldn't be gapping down, right? It is. Because you're going to see the signs like CCJ, all these names that look bullish and they're just, they don't really look that strong. Arrow, again, if the market's going higher, why is Arrow doing this, right? If the Feds are pivoting, why did it, again, a nice little bounce. No one's going to argue that. 8 to 10 or whatever. 11. Phew, that is pretty good. But now look at today. Like, is this bullish on a bullish day? No. Dikembe Mutombo waving his finger. No. Mosaic. Well, again, we talked about certain names and certain sectors acting certain ways. This one didn't have a ton of volume. Didn't really rally back anywhere close to near the highs. Put CF on your list again. This one, to me, had volume at the lows and what? Acted much better. We talked about it. When it came down here, you had stopping power with monster volume. If you're watching this swing trader and you keep asking me about these stocks like QS and whatever, all these speculative names, and they're in downtrends but they don't have big volume, I don't trust them, man. I just don't. Because in a bear market, in a bear market, smart money they will get as aggressive as possible buying because they know they're the only ones buying it, and they'll try to get it at the lows. This is where you get stopping power, big green, going higher. These other names that people are sending me, I'm just like, what are you looking at? I know they're down 80%, but that doesn't mean they're not going lower. Because in a bear market, it's like nature with a lightning striking, hitting dry land in the summer. It just burns off all of the weeds. And you'll see. And again, if you don't believe me, all of the weeds. And when I say weeds, all these meme stocks, all these crappy stocks, all these non-profit stocks, they'll trade back to some sort of cost basis with the company. Like if the traditional lowest valuation is 2x sales, 5 PE, book value minus a quarter, whatever the lows can be, they will be there at some point. Do you believe me? Probably not. AMD. Here's a name, again, another thing in the market. Why is AMD not back at the highs? If you're short this, again, the Goldman Sachs upgrade. Let's upgrade it and sell it to our clients. And then let's gap it down and trap their asses. And then guess what? They're going to get 10 different calls about what should we buy next. And guess what? Then we'll sell them NVIDIA. And then we'll sell them something else. And it'll all just go lower. And at the end of the day, all their clients will be holding all of their holdings. And Goldman Sachs will be what? Taking the other side of their bets. Let it go. It's going lower. SMH. This was, you got stopped out. I don't like getting in and seeing. We talked about coming back to the highs. Well, you got it. Now what? Probably 248, 249. People keep screaming the 200 day. I don't know about that. So it's just is what it is, man. How much higher? Again, I stopped out because I've always said 250 is possible. We're not that far away. It's the top of the It's the top of the basically inflection points, inflection zone, right? Point of control. It will probably test there. What happens if it gets to 251? Is that invalidated? No. Just watch how it closes. The opens and close are very powerful, y'all. Someone tried to tell me candlestick trading is not as good as line trading. I'm like, line trading gives you no point of reference to the emotion of the day. Lines just tell you where where it closes. That's just crazy to me. Where it closes is not always important. Where it opens is just as important because, again, when you open low and you close at the highs after a big down move, that's an outside reversal. That's what we thought, right? Right here, we thought we made a lower high, we opened higher and closed lower. Well, guess what? It didn't happen. But now I can at least identify the trap. right? I don't know. It's just, I'd rather have candles than just straight lines here. Just simple little lines. Like if you want simple lines, I don't know why the Japanese rice trader, 5,000 years ago, started drawing lines, but they did pretty good trading. I mean, 5,000, I mean, maybe 2,000 years. 2,000 years of great trading, or I don't know. Japan's culture is pretty damn old. Somebody will correct me if they want. But I would trust that over squiggly lines, because clearly they realize squiggly lines, and everyone else who trades that squiggly lines don't give you any information. Meta. Let's roll through these quick. What do we talk about? It couldn't even get over today's high, or the highs from the other day. Got back up there, lower. Weakness. Remember we talked about weakness. Apple. We are back in the game. Everybody's back to bullish. Maybe it gets into this trend line, 172, 173. Keep it real simple. I don't think there's much upside. And if it has to, maybe it goes to 175. Microsoft, Mr. Softy. Maybe it fills the gap up here at 296, 200-day. You're close enough. You're getting there, y'all. Everyone's like, I don't want to short Tesla because the puts are expensive. Well, then short the hell out of Microsoft and Apple. SMH. Their options are much cheaper. Get the same bang for your buck. NASDAQ. Man, this is so annoying. I still have long-term puts on this thing because I know what happens. When it turns into a waterfall. I know they got a split coming. I know all this stuff. But guess what? If this is the coin base of Bitcoin, this is the NASDAQ exchange of NASDAQ. If I'm shorting tech, I want to short the freaking the exchange. It's always done me well. Always done me well. If you don't know the past on this thing, oh, look at this mountain of bull marketness. It just has gone straight moonshotting. Look at this. I mean, this thing in 2000 and what? IPO'd. No, that's not the IPO. It's gone from 15 up to 100 and what? 80? Sorry, not even, no, 180. 215. This is the peak of the NASDAQ. It's never going to be as important. I promise you that. It's going to be just like it's going to price at a reasonable price. That's all I see. And it's probably going to wash down to 180, 70, 50, who knows. Bear markets, everything gets reset. IBM, we talked about this, holding up better than other stocks. Well, guess what? It bottomed when? Oh, let me zoom in. It bottomed in November, and it's been making higher lows and higher highs. Looks good to me. I mean, if you've owned this, it's been pretty tricky. It came back to the trend line. Dang, I missed that 129, and then we'll see what happens. If it does it hold up better, then maybe this starting to go run higher is actually a nice tile, right? Because it did really well. I mean, what did the markets get smoked in June? I guess it does better. Yeah. Well, again, it's acting better. That's all you got to say. I mean, spade's a spade, right? Spade is a spade. Roblox, crazy. Talking about the 50s. Gotta watch it. If you were involved in this stock, be careful because it looks like volume back up at the high. I could see it coming back down, or it's a takeout target because you did have all this volume down here. Tesla, man, I swear to God, I've never in my lifetime seen a stock so heavily believed in, and it just goes lower, and it just goes lower. Again, keep in mind, nobody believed in Tesla when it was doing this, right? Nobody thought it was valued correctly. Nobody thought it made sense. Now everybody loves it on the backside. You can't pay the market makers enough to manipulate people this well. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you guys who are thinking that Tesla's a long-term hold, you're literally on the backside of Mount Everest. I know this is a sloppy chart. We talked about the 200-day and the 0.5 fib. You're trying to catch a rolling snowball down the backside of Mount Everest. Just don't get caught on that thing. Man, EXPI talked about this. I mean, trash floats last. That's all I got to say. The trash floats last. If fundamentals mattered, the stock would be back up in the 90s. Great company. I work for them. I have insider information in the sense that I work for them, and all I can tell you is things are great. Things are great with this company. Real estate is slowing down. We're doing well. We're adding agents every month. Check the press releases. Nothing that no one doesn't already know. But why is the market heavily discounted this stock? Very simple. Fundamentals are a fugazi. UTHR every day. Double bottom. Back here, we could have bought it. Nice run up. Hit the highs, backed off to the breakout here in blue. Head and shoulders top. It's gone. If you own UTHR and you've not taken any profits, shame on you. That's all I can say. Oil. Here we go. Nice rally up. Nice rally up. Choppy, double bottom. I don't want to play any of this stuff. UNG. Someone asked me about going long it, and you know what I said? It actually looks better if it breaks the downtrend. It's holding high and tight. Maybe nat gas is about to go spiky, rippy. That's why XOP, we said way back and down here, I was like, I think it gets up into the 140s at some point. Taking longer than I thought. Well, here you are in the 140s. I'm going to give myself a golf clap, but do you aware? The market goes down, this will come with it. XLE, someone's asking, whatever. Same thing. Looks like a nice double top. Check that out. End it with ExxonMobil. Talked about the stock rallying. It was holding up, making higher highs, higher lows. Does it get back and fill? Pray it gets back and fill the gap. Actually, I'm going to put that note. If it hits 100, I think it'll probably be that's it. All right, if you got any real estate questions, again, check out the videos we're dropping about alternative investment loans and all different types of ways to get involved in the market without having to necessarily provide your tax returns or having to be at the mercy of the bank. Again, if you're buying investment properties and you're thinking about it, keep in mind there's tons of creative ways to get financing where maybe all you have to do is show your bank statements, your credit score, and just also let the bank run a competitive market analysis on the property you're looking to rent. And if it breaks even, or at worst to what the bank thinks it's worth, and your mortgage is covered by the rent, the bank will lend you money. I'm telling you, the 70s and 80s are coming. House prices are not going lower. If inflation is here and housing constraints are already supplied, who is going to sell their house when they have an interest rate of 2 or 3%? Nobody. It's going to be an interesting couple years. So that's why if there's any dips in housing, that's the thing I'm buying the biggest. Talk to you later. Have a good weekend.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.